Good morning, Daf Samach Dalid. If you were to go into a store to buy eggs, you're looking at the eggs and you have no idea what you're looking at, there are four options. Either the egg is coming from a non-kosher bird, or it might be coming from a kosher bird and it's completely kosher, or maybe it comes from a bird that died, even though the bird is kosher, but the egg came out of an avela of the bird, and therefore it's asim d'Rabbanan. And the worst case in a kosher bird is if an egg comes from a bird that's a treifa. Say it has a hole in its lung, and it had an egg. That egg is usher to eat midoiraisa. Now, an egg has simanim. They're not doiraisa simanim, but they have simanim. The kosher simanim are that the egg is circular on the bottom and it tapers off on the top, like you see over here. Also, the yolk is in the center, and around the yolk you have the white. Whereas a non-kosher egg, the yolk is on the outside and the white is in the inside, and the shape could be tapered on the top and the bottom, or completely round, like an ostrich's egg. Now, if you see that the egg has simone treifa, and the owner of the store, the guy tells you, no, don't worry about it, it's a kosher egg, 100% usher to eat. If the egg has all the simone kashrus, and the owner of the store, the guy, tells you, trust me, this comes from a kosher bird and this is its name, so you can rely on him because you can check up on him, and he's worried that you're going to find out that he's a liar. So the two things combined, the simanim and the fact that the guy tells you that it's kosher, you're allowed to eat it. If the guy doesn't tell you that it's kosher, you just think on yourself, by yourself, that it's kosher because it has a simanim, that's not enough to rely on him. The Gemara the other day said that there are 8 birds that we have a suffix if they're kosher or not. Why? Because they have 3 simanim of kashrus, they have that extra finger, they have a crop, and they're not doires. The problem was that the 4th siman, the gizzard, instead of being able to be peeled easily, you had to use a knife to peel it. Well, the question is, what's the suffix on those 8 birds? Let's check their eggs and see if they're round on the bottom, taper on the top, the yellow in the middle. The answer is because we can't rely on those simanim completely. They're not a doiraisa simanim. It's in combination with the goy. Now, the halacha is you're not allowed to sell a treif egg to a goy. Meaning, if your chicken was a treifa, it had a punctured lung or something, so the eggs are treif, you're not allowed to sell them to a goy. However, you're allowed to crack them open and beat them and then sell them to the guy. Why? Because the guy won't be able to sell them to a Jew. A Jew is not allowed to buy open, beaten eggs from a guy. Now, Tosfos says that in our days, where most of the eggs that are sold in the stores are kosher, and especially in our days, which nearly 100% of the eggs sold are kosher, there's no problem buying eggs, even from a guy, even if the guy doesn't tell you that they are kosher. Another interesting halacha that Tosfos says is that if you buy some sort of cracker from a guy and it has eggs in it, even though the eggs are beaten, and beaten eggs you can't buy from a guy, that's only when the guy is selling you open beaten eggs. He most likely got them from a Jew. Why else is he selling you beaten eggs? But if they're in a product, everybody beats their eggs in order to put them in a product. But mainly you're allowed to eat it, says Tosfos. The Rebbe Tam comes along and says, no, you can't eat it because it's bishul akum. What I found fascinating is, what about OU? What about a badatz? What, you could just buy a cracker from a guy without any issues? I guess they had no issues in those days. Now, the Gemara says there are 5 eggs. You open up an egg, there are 5 possibilities. One is you open up an egg and you find that the yolk and the white are mixed together, meaning it's one giant yolk. Says the Gemara, you should know that you're looking at an egg of a sheretz. What's the difference? The Torah says, Kol hashoretz al haaretz, sheretz hashoretz al haaretz. That's one pasuk. That's a issa d'oraisa, so you get malchus in that. And the Torah also says, sheretz v'oif. Now, the halacha is, in order to get malchus, you need hasra, you need Edom to come and say, don't eat from that egg. What if the Edom said, don't eat from that chicken egg? But in fact, it wasn't a chicken egg, it wasn't a bird egg, it was a lizard's egg, it was a turtle's egg. The halacha is, of course he's over Isser, but he doesn't get malchus, because they didn't specify the exact Isser. They should say, don't eat the sheretz hasheretz al haaretz, or don't eat the sheretz ha'oif. So you need to know that if it has one big yolk, it's a sheretz, and it's not a oif. The other halacha is, if you ate from a egg from a non-kosher bird which was fertilized, you're over because of sheretz ha'oif. If you eat an egg that's from a non-kosher bird or a sheretz which wasn't fertilized, then you're oiver, says Rashi, you're oiver d'oraisa, but you don't get malchus. Why are you oiver? Because anything that comes from a non-kosher animal, milk, eggs, those things, you're oiver in the d'oraisa, but you don't get malchus. Now, a kosher egg that was fertilized, says the Gemara by us, that it's only asur midrabanan. What about an egg that was not fertilized, but sat a long time under the chicken? It's kind of disgusting. Says the Gemara is completely kosher. However, you could be over the eraisa if you're an istinus or it's something that bothers you, so you're over on Baal Shaksu. What do you do if you find blood in an egg that was fertilized? Says the Gemara, well, it depends. If you find the blood on the kesher, on the little string that attaches the yolk to the shell, Rashi says that string is actually the zera that creates the embryo. So you just remove that kesher, you remove it, and you can eat the rest of the egg. However, if you find it in the yellow, that means that it's already contaminated with embryo, and this egg is asur to eat. If you cooked a kosher and a not kosher egg together, says the Gemara, there's no problem. We're not worried that some of the flavor from the non-kosher egg entered the kosher egg because there's not enough flavor to be worried about. How do we know that all non-kosher birds, their eggs are treif? Because the Torah says, by the ostrich, the Torah says, basayano. Now, an ostrich can be called a yano by itself, or it could be called basayano. However, when the Torah describes the non-kosher birds, the Torah says, basayano is referring to two separate things. The yana, the ostrich, and the basayano, meaning the egg of the yana. How do we know? Because if the Sefer were to write the last word of the line up here, and then that would be bas, and on this next line, he would put yana. That would be a kosher Sefer Torah. Whereas the word kadar lo'aymer, which the Gemara says is two words, we actually write them together as one. It's a big machlokes between Bavli and Yerushalmi, or Oili Bavel and Eretz Yisrael. However, if you were to write kadar lo'aymer separate, on one line it would be kosher, two lines would be apostle Sefer Torah. So you see from here that the bas is the egg and the yana is the actual ostrich, and from here you see that all non-kosher eggs, just like the ostrich's eggs, is treif, so to all non-kosher birds' eggs are treif. Have a wonderful day.